Thank you. Hello, everyone. How are you? Good. Happy to be here. It's an honor to be speaking for you. It's an honor to be speaking on behalf of the trees. So my talk today is about sustainable forest management in Guatemala. As he said, I play in the band Maroon 5. We just finished a tour of the United States. Here's a few shots from this tour. We have incredibly loyal fans. Many of them have been coming to see us play for years. I should say they're loyal to us, at least. This is a great shot. He seems happy about it. So many people don't know that we've been a band since 7th grade in high school, and we met in Los Angeles. And here we are in 10th grade, just getting our first record contract. And over the years, we've seen the music business change in so many ways, and right alongside it, we've seen the world change. Here's South America. We're going to be headed down that way into Central America to talk about the difference between waste and sustainability. And I think it's complicated to talk about issues related to climate change because they're so big, and we're wrapped up in so many systems that seem to have quarterly profits as their main focus as opposed to the long-term sustainability of the human race on the planet. Because I believe that the planet will be fine, but I am concerned about us making it through the next, I don't know what you want to call it, the next chapter of our life, because I believe we're at a turning point and we have choices to make. So I know it's a little uncomfortable to talk about these things, but I have some good news about what's happening in Guatemala, and I also have photos like this to help us kind of breathe through it. So I was asked to come speak here at this event because of a trip I took last year with my bandmate, James Valentine, as well as Adam Gardner from the band Guster, to Guatemala to learn about illegal logging and some of the community-run concession programs that are operating in a sustainable way. So we traveled up to the north, and the trip was put together by these two organizations, EIA, Environmental Investigation Agency, and REVERB, which is a group that Adam and his wife Lauren founded many years ago and have been working with our band, among many other bands in the music business, for the last 10 years personally, sending out representatives on our tours to make them more environmentally friendly and teach our fans about climate change, and also putting together trips like this. So the background to the trip is that Adam reached out to James and I and asked us if we knew where the wood for the guitars that we play came from, and I had no idea and hadn't even thought of it. And this is after years of thinking of myself as an environmentalist, but it just goes to show how many areas there are for us to potentially learn about. And we took this trip to learn about the problems of illegal logging and also to learn about some of the inspiring solutions that Guatemala is presenting to the world. So our first stop was this tiny town, Flores, up in the Petén forest area. We took a boat into the town, very beautiful, and then hiked into the woods to meet some people who were running some of the community-run sawmills. One of them was called Barron, and one of them was called Forestcom. You can see here, this lightly green, grayed out area is the no-cutting zone. And up above, we've got national forests. A lot of the problems with illegal logging are happening over in the northwest. It's right next to the border of Mexico. Something I didn't know about is that a lot of drug cartels are teaming up with illegal loggers, clear-cutting large areas of forest so they can land planes with drugs from South America to get them into Mexico and, I assume, into the United States. So this whole region is called the Maya Biosphere Reserve. And we were over here on the east where it is safe and where we met some wonderful people doing wonderful things. The man who owned this corporation, Barron Commercial, was an inspiring man, and I asked him about some of their sustainable practices. For example, they can only cut down 1 tree per football-sized area of the forest every season. And for every tree they cut down, they have to plant a certain number in order to make up for that. A lot of these trees take 60 to 90 years to reach full maturity, And so they have 25-year-long grants right now for them to manage these forests. And if they can prove that they're operating in a sustainable way, they can extend those grants, thereby passing the right, the privilege to take care of them in a sustainable way onto their children. And here we are at ForestCom, another community-run organization made up of a bunch of smaller communities who've banded together to share equipment. They've color-coded the wood. They know where it's going to, and the people who buy it can feel safe that they're buying wood that was produced in a sustainable way. So the comment that stuck with me from talking to these two sawmill owners was from the owner of Barron, and I asked him how operating at that level was able to meet the world's demand for wood, and he said to me, it's the forest that should ideally set the demand, not humans' desire for wood. And that just really opened my eyes to how we operate on this planet. And I hope we can switch it around and pay more attention to the natural systems. Here are some slabs of mahogany being prepared for guitar slabs. This is a piece of wood that's going to become a neck and headstock of a guitar. This is the owner of ForestCom. And they've marked the wood with the information about which tree in the forest this piece of wood came from, as well as which cut. So there's meticulous accountability for all the wood that's manufactured down in these community-run organizations. On our second day, we hiked deeper into the Maya Biosphere. This is an entranceway that I love, very surreal. And we met a group called Yaloch, who were setting up a temporary logging campground. Here we are hiking into the forest. And this is a seed tree. This is a mahogany tree that they've designated as an ideal specimen. So they're not going to cut it down. They're going to leave it for as long as it can produce seeds, and they're going to take those seeds and try and propagate more strong, large trees in the forest. By the way, we took a 360 camera rig down there, and up on the third floor, we've got a couple 360 headsets. A production company called Riot loaned the cameras to us, and if you want to go check that out, you can see it tonight. The next day, we visited Tikal, the ancient temples, and we heard stories of how these people lived with, incredible riches, but they decimated all of the trees around their homes, and their population declined, and I think it's an interesting lesson. We went back to Guatemala City the next day, and we met with the National Institute of Forests, INAB, and the National Council of Protected Areas, CONAP, who talked to us about the methods they use to combat illegal logging, such as seizing disguised ice cream trucks filled with precious woods. And they showed us these slides of how there's been deforestation over the years, but how they're actually reversing the trend, you can see, in the east. (99.6% conserved over the last 20 years or so. So that's a great success. And Guatemala is serving as a model for countries around the world who have illegal logging problems. But there's a dangerous side as well, which includes threats to environmental protectors. Here are some coffins laid out with the names of environmental protectors on them as a threat. And here is some footage of the OCEN4 Peru Forest Oversight Institution offices being firebombed. When REVERB and EIA first sent out the message to us to take a trip down there, we were considering going to Peru, but we learned that there were more threats of violence down there, and we didn't take this trip. And these things were happening at the same time that we were in Guatemala. And we also learned of a giant shipment of illegal wood that was seized in the United States and is still kept in a dock in Houston with 71 giant shipping containers filled with wood, all with forged paperwork. So EIA is still working on resolving that issue. And this is all coming after the Peruvian indigenous leader Edwin Chota was murdered by illegal loggers in 2014. So I think we need another animal shot. This is the epitome of cute animals together. I mean, look at the species. What's that? A baby tiger. is incredible. This is a short film that EIA made about the trip, so you can learn more about it. Thank you, Steve.
Communities around the world are feeling the effects of illegal logging. Crime and corruption are fueling an epidemic of deforestation, and unwitting consumers are funding it. Stolen wood is manufactured into thousands of everyday products, including musical instruments like guitars. Adam Gardner is a member of the band Guster and co-founder of the environmental non-profit REVERB.
A lot of us in the music world are concerned about the impacts that we have been doing while we're touring on the environment, whether that's plastic waste or the fuel we're burning in our buses and trucks. But then when we learned that the very instruments that we're playing our music with could be clear-cutting and tearing out old-growth forests, it was very alarming for all of us.
Think about the furniture, where it comes from, a guitar for a musician, where it comes from. In some cases, that wood has been harvested illegally. It's really something that we want to shine a light on and bring to the attention of the world so that we can help stop illegal logging in its tracks.
To learn about how communities are combating illegal logging, Adam and Lauren travelled with the Environmental Investigation Agency to Guatemala. They were joined by musicians James Valentine and Jesse Carmichael of Maroon 5.
It hadn't even really occurred to us to think about where the wood came from for the guitars we play.
We're up there every night on stage playing guitars that are made out of wood. Until it was brought to our attention, we didn't really understand some of the problems with illegal logging and some of those negative consequences.
The musicians travelled to the Maya Biosphere Reserve in the northern Guatemalan state of Petén. This area contains a unique mix of national parks, biotopes, archaeological sites, and sustainable forest concessions. A forest concession is a large region of forest managed by companies or communities that harvest timber or other forest products. The forest concessions of the Maya Biosphere Reserve are unique because they are primarily managed by communities and have become a world-renowned example of sustainable forest management.
We do planning for the next 90 years. At the same time that we are using the forest, we are taking care of the forest, we protect the forest. And we are planning for the future for 90 years, for example, because I have kids, and my kids will have kids, and then I want it whatever they can have in the future.
For me as a guitar player, to be in the rainforest and see the woods that make up the guitars that I play in their natural environment, that was the most inspiring part of the trip.
That will be the father of all future guitars.
Yes.
Thanks.
Sociedad Civil Esfuerzo siempre ha tenido un problema con la tala ilegal de bosque.
Genera pérdidas importantes de patrimonio natural. Genera degradación, pérdida de diversidad biológica. Genera pérdidas también económicas porque la tala ilegal no paga impuestos, no entra a través de los mercados legales.
One of the biggest problems with illegal logging is that if a community that's doing things in a sustainable way harvests the wood and an illegal company harvests the same amount of wood, they're going to be able to sell that wood for a much lower price. So companies out there kind of have this moral question. It's a question I think we all just have to ask ourselves when we're about to buy something.
Our future and the future of our planet hinges on our willingness to manage our resources in a sustainable way. Community forestry in the Maya Biosphere Reserve is an example of how to both preserve and benefit from our precious natural resources. Unfortunately, this is the exception to the rule. Around the world, communities are struggling with the devastating impacts of illegal logging.
With all of the illegal logging that's going on, I think it was really important that we came here to see a positive example of sustainable forestry working. I mean, it turns out that local communities taking care of their own backyards is a really effective way to preserve these forests. It's in the community's interest to preserve these forests for future generations.
Beautiful film. Are we okay to plug this in? So here are some logos you can look for. the Forest Stewardship Council, Fair Trade International, Rainforest Alliance Certified, and I'm sure many others. So be on the lookout for those. And I wrote a song that I want to play for you guys now on this guitar, which was made by Martin, and it's made using entirely sustainable wood. Every single piece of wood in the instrument, many of the pieces came from Guatemala. So I want to thank them. And this is a song for my side project, which is called 1863. And it's called A Heart on My Side. Thank you guys for having me. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. I couldn't believe how many times I had to run up against my cracks in the armor and holes in my pride. You were ahead, I was behind, I was just following your lights, hoping to hold up this one hope of mine, that once in a while there's a heart on my side. Once in a while there's a heart on my side. You couldn't believe that I'd never leave. I couldn't believe you would leave me. But we saw the leaves start to fall from the trees. So many nights lost in a fright, I heard the sound of a rare bird and wondered if you heard the same song as mine. That once in a while there's a heart on your side. Once in a while there's a heart on your side. Once in a while there's a heart on your side. And all I ever want to drop is all this talk of giving up. 'Cause once in a while there's a heart on your side. Thank you.